Good day. Welcome to Some Gospel Music World. This is a platform where you learn the bass and its integrities even as a beginner, intermediate and advanced player. And I believe that the right mindset and approach essence will be attained. Once again, you are welcome. Alright, this is a part C of the masterclass. Okay. And the first part of the masterclass, that is part A, we looked at part of the bass, function of a bassist, who is a bassist, and all of those. And part B was dedicated to what we call tuning. So if you're a bass player and you don't know how to tune the bass, I would say you should go and check out that video. So let's get right straight into this lesson. So this is the part C of the masterclass. So what are we going to be looking at in the course of this class? We're going to be looking at some very important concepts. Number one, we're looking at understanding your fingers. We're looking at understanding your notes. We're looking at understanding octaves, and also be looking at understanding fretting and plucking. So let's get right straight into it. Now let's look at number one, understanding your fingers. As you can see on the screen, we have the thumb, the index finger, the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. So this is a thumb, okay. This is the index finger. This is the middle finger. You can see it's obvious because we have 5 fingers. So 2 on the right, 2 on the left. This is the middle finger. We have the ring finger. Why is the ring finger? For those who are married, this is where your ring, okay, is placed. Alright, so that's how we say it: middle, ring, then lastly pinky. So thumb, index, middle, ring, and pinky. So let's look at another way of numbering the finger, or referring to the finger. Now your index finger is also called number 1. Your middle finger is also called number 2. Your ring finger is also called number 3. Your fourth finger is also called number 4. So if I say, where's your third finger? Your third finger is also called your ring finger. Now this is as far as the bass is concerned. Okay, on the keyboard they refer to the 5 fingers, but on the bass we refer to just this 4 because we don't really use the thumb for bass playing. So if I say, now using your first finger, place it on this fret. Automatically I'm talking about your what? Index finger, ring, which is your third, your fourth finger, which is your pinky, and your second finger, which is your what? Your middle finger. So let's move on to look at a very important part, okay, as far as bass playing is concerned. Now let's do this together because this is very important. Okay, we are looking at understanding your notes on the bass. Understanding what? Your notes on the bass guitar. So first and foremost, I'll begin by saying we have 12 different keys in music. We have what? 12 different keys in music. Now let's look at this chart, as you can see on the screen. Now this chart, I believe it might be confusing, but at least the first fret on the right and the first fret on the left, okay, are notes that are common to you. We have G, D, A, E on the right, we have G, D, A, E on the left. And if you observe critically, this refers to the standard tuning for a 4-string bass. Okay, for a 4-string bass, your first string should be G, your second string should be D, your third string should be A, and your last string should be E. So what do you observe? That this is upside down. I will explain. On normality, your G string should be the string farthest from you, okay, followed by your D, and the E string is usually the string closest to you. But looking at this chart, G string, okay, is now closest. So you can see it's following the numbering system. That is, since G is number 1, it's coming first. So in other words, that first note G is referring to the first string, D is referring to the second string, A is referring to the third string, sorry, and E is referring to the last string. Now let's try to understand how they come about, the rest notes that are within the frets. Now we have looked at frets already. Okay, we have discussed what fret mean. Now let's look at the 12 different keys in music. Okay, now the best way to understand the 12 keys is that first and foremost, A to G form part of the keys. What do I mean? Alright, let's start. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are how many? These are about 7 alphabets. So automatically, if you can recall A to G, then you can recall 7 of the keys. So A to G forms 7 of the keys. Now let's look at how we can recall the 5 other keys. Now this is a rule. Every note from A to G has a sharp apart from B and E. I repeat, every note from A to G has a sharp apart from what B and E. Now I will explain what sharp mean because of this class, okay? But the symbol for sharp is simply, I would like call it the hash sign, okay? The hash sign, okay? So let's begin. If we have A, we say only B and E does not have sharp. So first and foremost, I began by saying A to G form part of the keys, okay? And from A to G, each and every one of them has a sharp, okay, apart from B and E. So if that's how it works, it then means that A will have a sharp, B will not, C has a sharp, D has a sharp, E won't, F has a sharp, G has a sharp. And their respective sharp is placed next to the parent key or note. Take for instance A. Does A have a sharp? If it has a sharp, then immediately after A, you mention the sharp. So let's begin. A, second is what? A sharp, because it has a sharp. B, does B have a sharp? No. Go to what? C. C sharp. Okay, C has a sharp. D, does D have a sharp? Yes. So we have D sharp. E, does E have a sharp? No. So go to what? F. F sharp, G, G sharp. So let's count them again. A, A sharp. B, C, C sharp. D, D sharp. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. You can see there are about 12. Okay, so there are about 12 keys. So to remember the 12 keys, what do? Okay, A to G forms part of the key. So that is about 7 because there are 7 letters between A to G. Then what next? Between A to G, all of the alphabet has a sharp apart from B and E. So if I come to a B, what do? I will jump to the next key, which is C. If I come to E, I'll jump to the next key, which is F. So A, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. So those are the 12 keys. Okay, now that we have been able to know what are 12 keys and our different keys, sorry, let's look at another very important concept to note. These keys are never ending. What do I mean? Now you might say, okay, we have A to G sharp, so if I come to G sharp, that means that is the end of the key. No, when you come to G sharp, you begin. What do I mean? A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. When you come to G sharp, you begin from A again. So if you begin from A, you begin again. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, G sharp, and so on. Is that clear? So it's never ending. So I could decide to start from C. Okay, it's not compulsory to start from A. I could start from C and say, okay, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, and so on and so forth. So it is continuous. So we are able to say that 1, A to G form parts of the keys. 2, from A to G, all of the alphabet has a sharp, okay, apart from B and E, and the sharp are placed next to the parent key. So if A has a sharp should come next. Okay, and fourthly, we have been able to establish the fact that it is continuous. Okay, never say, okay, I've come to G sharp, that should be the end. No, you're going to be repeating them over and over again. So that is how they work. Okay, that is how they work. So we will be able to look at sharp. Now let's look at another important concept, okay, which is octave. Now the last thing I said or explained was that it is continuous. Okay, it is what? Continuous. If it's continuous, what does that mean? If it's continuous, it means that if you start from A and you come to G sharp, you begin. Now in music, what do we refer to that? We call that octave. Okay, we call that octave. So when you start from A and you say A, you start from A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp. That point you're coming back to an A is called an octave. Now why do you say an octave? An octave is an octave because there are 12 notes in between. Now there are 12 keys, right? So the moment you cover 12 keys in music, you have covered an octave. Let's set an example. Let's say A, right? A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp. These are 12 notes. So the moment you're coming to an A, because you're repeating A again, you are still to have covered an octave. I believe that's clear enough. So let me explain this using the bass guitar. Okay, I have a 5-string bass with me here. Now let's try to rationalize this. Okay, the first string, okay, on the bass is what? This string here. This is your G string. So how does it work? It works like this. Now, okay, let's look at what they call open string first. Open string. What are open string? Open string are just notes, okay, you produce without fretting any note. In other words, I don't press any part of the bass and I just strike. Let's say on your first string, just pluck it. Once you just pluck it, that is an open string. So that is a note we're referring to as the G, not the first fret here. Okay, in the part A, you look at what fret mean. Okay, we have looked at fret already, right? We've looked at fret already. Okay, so now this is how it goes. Let's look at G, for example. So the open here is G. So you keep following the order. After G is what? G sharp. So the next fret is G. And this is how it works. Each of these fret represent keys. What did I say? Each of these fret represent keys. So when you count 12 fret, you're as good as counting 12 notes. So let's see. So this is a G. After G we have a G sharp, right? After G we have a G sharp. So we have G, G sharp, okay, A. Because we are going to start, so it's continuous. So the open is G. So the first fret is G sharp. So we'll not continue the same order. After G sharp is A. After A is A sharp. Next time I'm going after A. Sorry. After A sharp is what? B. Does B have a sharp? No. Jump to C. You have C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G. Okay, let me explain something briefly. If you observe, there are 2 fret markers here. Do you know what that means? That means you have covered an octave. And what do you say an octave mean? An octave simply means you have covered about 12 notes. So it means that from this point to this point, we have been able to cover 12 notes. Let's go right again. This is G, right? G sharp. Okay, G. So we'll keep counting them or going through them until we come over to G again. So we have G here, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, okay, E, F sharp, G. You can see that is G. We start from G here and we're ending on G here. So that's what we mean by octave. So same way, if you continue from the B string, sorry, don't mean the B string, okay, because the B string is the last string here. So we have the E, D. So let's look at the D string. So this is a D string, the second string. So the open is a D, right? If that is the open is a D, you'll be looking at that fret now. We're looking at this second fret. So try to compare it with that chart also. Okay, you observe that they're similar. Looking at the D string, D, okay, from D we have D sharp, because D has a sharp. E, does E have a sharp? No. Okay, F sharp, G sharp. And when you come to G sharp, what did you start all over? So start from what again? A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D. You can see that on this double fret marker we have a D, which is what we have at the open string. So you can try that out for the other strings. Okay, this is a 4-string bass, this is a 5-string bass. So the chart we're using here is a 4-string bass. So you can see that for the G string, that's how it goes. For the D, same way. For the A, same way. For the E, same way. And for the B string, same way. Okay, so that's how notes are. So in case I ask you now and I say, what note is this? Okay, you can see this position here is 2 frets away from these 2 octave, okay, markers. So let's see. So to locate that, what do? We'll start from here. The open is G. Okay, it's on the G string. That's the first thing you have to ask yourself. What string is it on? First, second, third, or fourth. It's on the 1st string, and that 1st string is the G string. You can see how you have to note the note attached to the open string. So let's start G, G sharp, A, A sharp, B. No sharp for B, so go to C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. So that is F. So that note is F. So I could point any part of the bass and I say, what note is that? What do? You ask yourself, what string is that note on, or is that fret on? So if I'm talking about this fret here, okay, if I talk about this fret here, this fret is on the 3rd string, and the 3rd string is the word A string. So I could start from there and so on. But since it's an octave, the rule continues from here. Okay, what do I mean? If I ask you what note is here, for example, okay, what note is here? This side works. If the open here is G, automatically this octave is also G. So I could begin from here and I could just say G, G sharp, A, A sharp. So that's an A sharp. Okay, now it will take time for you to understand this, but the truth about this is that over time you'll be able to know which fret, okay, has that note. So first, if you ask me what is this note here, what is, I already know it's F. Okay, I already know it's F, and so on and so forth on the fretboard. Okay, so that's how notes are arranged on the fretboard. So it will be good as a basis for you to take note of this, because it will affect your play. Okay, so number 1, your bass needs to be tuned to standard to be able to follow this rule. If your bass is not tuned to standard, a keyboard can tell you that he's on the key of C, and you pick up your bass to play, and your C will sound like an A because your bass is not it's not using standard tuning. So you can see the importance of standard tuning. Okay, I've explained that in the part B of the masterclass, standard tuning. So you have to make sure your bass is a what? Standard tuning. So that is that. Alright, so let's move on to the next section of what we'll be looking at. Okay, let's go over another important concept. We have looked at it already also, but let me just talk about it a little bit. Understanding octaves. Okay, as I said, an octave is when you return to the same note you started from. Take for instance, if we start from G and we say G is also here because this means octave. Okay, so when you start from G and you come back to G, that's an octave. If you start from G sharp and come back to G sharp, that's an octave. So when you begin from C and you come back to C, that's an octave. So in finding notes on the fretboard, the open string are used as your reference point. Then you follow the rules till you reach your reference point, and so on and so forth. So if you ask me that, what note is this? What do I do? I'll have to know. I'll have to ask myself that, what string is it on? Is it on the A string, B string? Okay, since it's on the 1st string, the 1st is G, and I'll follow the same order, counting till like reach that note, and so on and so forth. Okay, so octave. So if I start from G and I'm back to G, that's an octave. If I start from A and I'm back to A, that's an octave. If I start from D and I'm back to D, that is what? An octave. So let's look at another important part as far as bass playing is concerned. Okay, I've talked about this before, but let's discuss this. Now let's look at what they call fretting. Now, fretting simply refers to a technique that involves producing notes with the left hand. Okay, now we have the right hand and the left hand. Now the left hand is responsible for fretting, okay, and the right hand is responsible for what? Plucking. Now let's look at fretting first. This simply refers to a technique that involves producing notes with the left hand, majorly on the fretboard. Okay, now if we want to go into the theory of how this works, you place your thumb, okay, on the middle of the back of the neck. Okay, this is the back of the neck. This can you see my fingers? Okay, you place your thumb there. Okay, middle of the back of the neck, and do not let it hang over the top of the neck. In other words, do not place your finger like this so it can be. Do not place your thumb so it can be seen. Okay, because proper thumb placement will make it easier for your fingers to reach notes on the fretboard. So what do I mean? This is the back of my neck. So this is how I place my finger. Okay, do not make it to shoot out like this. Place it like this, then you could start fretting. Now let's talk about plucking briefly. This simply refers to the use of your index finger and your middle finger to pluck notes. Okay, what that's your middle finger? Your middle finger is also called your first finger. Your index finger is also called your first finger, and your middle finger is also called your second finger. So when you're playing, you need to learn to make use of these two fingers. Okay, that is the basic and professional way of playing the bass. You don't make use of one finger, so you try to make use of these two fingers. And number two, you need to keep your fingernails trimmed or short to avoid your nail catching the string. So if you're a bass player, or except you'll be able to control that over time, you learn to what? Keep your fingernails trimmed. Now, to develop plucking speed and efficiency, it is important that you use at least two fingers to pluck. Okay, some people make use of more than two fingers, but to develop speed and efficiency, you need at least two fingers to pluck. Now, most people use their index alone. Some use their middle fingers alone, but professionally, you should use your index and middle fingers and alternate them, because the time it takes to use one finger to pluck, or the stress it will take, now the stress will be shared between these two fingers, that is your index and your middle, in plucking the strings. So using two fingers is half the work for each finger. So in other words, your fingers are not stressed much when you pluck with your two fingers. So using two fingers is sufficient for most playing styles. Okay, so that is that for fretting. So I think that brings us to the end of the part C of this masterclass. We'll be able to look at understanding your fingers, we've looked at understanding your notes, we've looked at understanding octaves, and we've looked at understanding fretting and plucking. So thank you for staying through in the course of the part 7 masterclass, and I hope to see you in the part D. Alright.